We cannot see the whole ocean. Something old waits below. The water moves around a shape that does not belong to our time. A long shadow slips through the blue and is gone. Big dark eyes turn and sink. A tail cuts once, then the water is still. The sea keeps its secret, but not forever. The secret rests in stone. The shore will wake it. Stay with this mystery. The truth lies just under the next wave. The coast of Lyme Regis in the county of Dorset in the United Kingdom holds cliffs that crumble after storms. In the early 19th century, a girl named Mary Anning walked those dangerous slopes with her brother Joseph Anning. They searched the fallen rock for small treasures to sell. One day, Joseph Anning spotted a strange skull. Mary Anning worked for months to uncover the full skeleton. The year was around 1811 to 1814. When she finally pulled it free, it did not match anything known. The jaw was long and full of sharp teeth. The spine looked like a coil. The limbs looked like paddles. Some people called it a sea dragon. Others thought it was a kind of giant fish. It was neither. Scientists would soon name it ichthyosaurus, which means fish lizard, and later place it in a larger group called ichthyosauria. That first complete skeleton from Lyme Regis set paleontology on fire. Naturalists from London and Europe came to see Mary Anning's find. They argued, measured, and drew. They placed its bones into careful lines and tried to picture the living animal. This was a reptile, not a fish and not a crocodile, and it had lived in the sea. It breathed air, it had flippers, it had a long snout full of teeth. It was the beginning of a story that stretched across continents and 2 centuries of science. The cliffs of the Jurassic coast had given up a secret, but they had not told the whole story. Across the sea in the village of Holzmarden in Germany, the dark shale preserved more clues. The year 1892 brought a surprise. Bernhard Hauff prepared a small specimen of Stenopterygius in a way that preserved not only bones, but soft outlines. The rock showed a tall dorsal fin and a crescent-shaped tail fluke. Before that, many scientists had drawn ichthyosaurs with straight tails like eels. Holzmarden proved that the tail bent downward at the tip and carried a vertical fin. It also showed a large fin on the back, made only of skin and connective tissue, with no bones inside. Suddenly the silhouette looked very modern, more like a fast tuna or a sleek shark. The ichthyosaur was not a sluggish serpent of the sea. It was a streamlined hunter built for speed and control. Why would a reptile look so much like a dolphin? Here is where the ocean plays the master teacher. Convergent evolution is the idea that different lineages can end up with similar body shapes when they face the same problems. Water is dense. It resists motion. If you must swim fast to catch prey or escape danger, certain solutions rise again and again. A torpedo-shaped body reduces drag. Stiff, flippers help steer. A tall dorsal fin keeps the body from rolling. A crescent tail fluke gives a powerful push. Fish have it, sharks have it, dolphins have it. Ichthyosaurs, although reptiles, also developed it. The outward forms converge because physics does not care about family trees. There were differences that matter. Dolphins are mammals. Their tails move up and down. Ichthyosaurs were reptiles. Their tails moved side to side. Dolphins have no bony ring in the eye. Ichthyosaurs had a round series of small bones called a sclerotic ring that supported the eye. Dolphins gave milk to their young. Ichthyosaurs did not give milk, but they did give birth to live babies in the water. Inside the bones and skin, the paths of their ancestors were very different. On the outside, the ocean made them partners in shape. The earliest ichthyosaurs were not perfect swimmers from the start. For a long time, that early part of the story was missing. Then, in eastern China, a fossil named Cartorhynchus lenticarpus came to light. The age was about 248 million years ago at the start of the Triassic period. Cartorhynchus lenticarpus had a short snout, big flippers with flexible wrists and thick bones. The flexible wrists suggest that it could push itself in shallow water, perhaps onto a muddy shore for short times, much like a seal. The thick bones would have helped it stay stable near the coast. Dr. Ryosuke Mutani and his team studied this little reptile and presented it as a bridge between land reptiles and fully aquatic ichthyosaurs. It was already a swimmer, but not yet the open ocean sprinter seen later. Another early Triassic reptile adds a tender piece to this history. In China, paleontologists uncovered a ichthyosaurus female that had 3 babies, one inside, one half-born, and one newborn outside. The orientation of the half-born baby showed that it was coming out head first. In fully aquatic mammals like whales, babies are born tail first to avoid drowning. A head-first posture suggests birth in very shallow water or even on land, a sign that the earliest ichthyosaurs still used land during birth. Over time, later ichthyosaurs born in the Jurassic seas appear to have switched to tail-first births and became fully ocean-bound mothers. The rise of ichthyosaurs happened quickly after the worst mass extinction in Earth's history at the end of the Permian period. That disaster killed many lineages, but it opened space for new forms. Within a few million years, early ichthyosaurs spread into the seas and began to adapt to many roles. The Triassic saw sleek forms and odd forms, from slender fish catchers to heavy-headed hunters. The Jurassic took that start and refined it into speed and grace. By the time of Ichthyosaurus in the early Jurassic, the trunk was stiff, the flippers were strong, the dorsal fin was high, and the tail fluke was tall. The outline looked like a tuna with a long snout and big eyes. Those eyes were more than just big. Some species had the largest eyes of any known animal. Temnodontosaurus in particular had eye sockets more than 25 centimeters across, as large as a dinner plate and possibly larger. The sclerotic ring in Temnodontosaurus shows an eye that needed reinforcement against pressure. Paleobiologist Lars Schmitz compared the visual system of such ichthyosaurs to owls. Large eyes gather more light. They can see in dim conditions. That suggests deep diving or night hunting. It also suggests a life full of silent chases in dark water where sight meant survival. Stealth did not end with the eyes. A specimen of Temnodontosaurus showed serrated trailing edges on the front flippers and soft tissue at the tip without a bony core. Dr. Mark Jones at the Natural History Museum in London and other researchers examined these details. When they modelled flow over the serrated edge, they found it could reduce turbulence and noise, much like the fringed feathers of an owl's wing allow silent flight. A silent flipper would let a hunter approach prey with less disturbance. In the dark or at depth, silence would be a very real advantage. Not every clue comes from bone shape. Some come from chemistry in the rock. In Germany, an extraordinary Stenopterygius fossil preserved skin, pigments, and even chemical traces consistent with a layer of fat beneath the skin. Dr. Mary Schweitzer and a team studied this specimen and reported evidence of blubber-like insulation. A layer of fat under the skin can help keep body heat inside. This suggests that at least some ichthyosaurs were warm-blooded, with higher metabolism more like tuna, lamnid sharks, and marine mammals. The pattern of pigment found in that specimen also fit countershading. The back was darker, the belly lighter. Many ocean animals share this pattern. It hides them from above and below. When a predator looks down, the dark back blends with deep water. When prey looks up, the pale belly blends with bright surface light. The fossil record tells stories of daily life. In many ichthyosaurus skeletons from the United Kingdom and Germany, the stomach area preserves belemnite hooks. Belemnites were squid-like animals. Rows of hooks in an ichthyosaur belly mean a meal of squid. These hunters probably ate fish too. Some species had needle-like teeth for small slippery prey. Others had stout teeth that could take tougher meals. Urhinosaurus had a top jaw twice as long as the bottom jaw. It may have used this to slash through schools of fish. Thalattoacon from the Triassic had large blade-like teeth in a short snout. It may have preyed on other marine reptiles. Ophthalmosaurus in the Jurassic had a short snout and very large eyes, likely built for deep dives and fast pursuit. The world of ichthyosaurs stretched across oceans. Their fossils lie in the shale of Holzmarten in Germany, the limestone of the Alps in Switzerland, the cliffs of Dorset and town of Lyme Regis in the United Kingdom, and the deserts of Nevada in the United States. In Nevada, Berlin Ichthyosaur State Park holds multiple skeletons of Shonisaurus, a giant ichthyosaur that reached lengths beyond 15 meters. The bones lie together in a way that makes scientists wonder whether these animals died together or gathered in a place for a reason such as birthing or feeding. In Svalbard in the Arctic, Jurassic ichthyosaurs swam in cold seasonal seas, which haunts the question of warm blood. If they handled cold water, they likely needed some way to maintain internal warmth. Warm blood would help. There is also the discovery on the banks of the Severn River in England. An 11-year-old fossil hunter named Ruby found a jaw fragment of surprising size. More pieces followed. Scientists calculated a gigantic length from the jaw. In 2024, they named a new species, Ichthyosaur severnensis, the giant fish lizard from the Severn. Estimates suggest a length of about 26 meters, around 85 feet, putting it close to the size of blue whales. If those estimates are close, Ichthyosaur severnensis may be the largest marine reptile yet known. The long history of ichthyosaurs had room for true giants that cruised open oceans like floating mussel. As we tell this story, the human side matters. Mary Anning and Joseph Anning in Dorset unlocked the first chapter. Bernhard Haff in Holzmarden gave us the outline of the fins. Henri de la Beche painted Duria Antiquia, a famous watercolor in 1830 that pictured ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs in full life. Dr. Ryosuke Motani and his team studied Cartohynchus lenticarpus and helped fill the gap between land and sea. Paleontologist Bruce Rothschild studied bone lesions and suggested that ichthyosaurs suffered decompression sickness, also called the bends, from deep dives and fast returns to the surface. Dr. Mary Schweitzer showed us blubber-like tissue and pigments in Stenopta regius. Dr. Mark Jones reminded us that even flippers can whisper. Paleobiologist Lars Schmitz explained what giant eyes mean in deep water. Science writers played a role too. Riley Black wrote about blubber and warm blood. Danielle Olson wrote about convergent evolution and body form in ichthyosaurs and modern whales for the Smithsonian Ocean Portal. Sarah Hashemi covered silent hunting flippers and the stealth of Temnodontosaurus. Kat Curlin wrote about the first amphibious ichthyosaur, Cartohynchus lenticarpus, for the University of California, Davis. Christine Delamore wrote about live birth in Cowhusaurus for National Geographic. Megan Gannon wrote about decompression sickness in ichthyosaurs for Life Science. A University of Oxford team analysed extinction patterns in 2016. Marcello Perillo commented on how each new fossil adds a piece to the puzzle. The Natural History Museum in London displays beautiful ichthyosaur skeletons and shares research updates. The Smithsonian Magazine and the Smithsonian Ocean Portal carry careful reports that help the public follow this science. These names and places tie the fossil record to living hands and minds. Let us step back and follow a narrative arc that mirrors life itself.